In this video, Rachel is going to help us understand how to use tarot cards to manifest using the law of attraction. Hey, Abundant Parents, it's Leah. I have Rachel here with Quinlan Tarot, and since I love manifestation so much, as you guys know, I talk about the law of attraction all the time, I thought it would be so amazing to have Rachel talk with us a little bit about how you can use the tarot to bring manifestation into your life. So Rachel,
yes,
thanks so much for being here. Talk to us first. I know that you've pulled out some specific cards which are great for manifestation. Do you want to start there and talk to us about the specific cards?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So tarot, we so much of the time think about using it as what card are we going to pull and what's our future hold. But also what we can do is we can go through the deck and say, what do I want in my life? And what are some cards that mirror what I want to bring about? Because as you know, with manifestation, the future is not out of our hands. We can bring in the future that we want for ourselves. And you can do that the exact same way with the tarot. You can go through the deck and say, this is the future that I want for myself. You don't have to know what every single card in the deck means to do this. You can look through the deck and energetically you can go, oh, these people look really happy in this card. This looks like a union of two people in this card. That's what I want to bring into my life. So you can do that and then look up the cards to see if sort of that matches.
And I love that you've touched on that just a little bit because the workshop that Rachel's done with me is all about bringing tarot in as a tool for kids to tap into their intuition. And we talked a lot about how kids use these pictures to kind of see what feels good. Kids can recognize what the intention behind the card based off the picture. So I love that idea that you can trust your own intuition too.
Absolutely. So I think the first thing that you do is you get clear about what do you want to be bringing into your life. So for example, if maybe you've been having trouble around the home, siblings have been fighting, things have been feeling up in the air, and you want to bring in some calm and some peace and a little bit of unity into your home. The 10 of Cups is a really beautiful card, and I'll give this to you. Yeah. Cups represent intuition. They represent emotions. So this is a card about emotions. And you can see on the card there's a rainbow, there's two adults holding hands, there's kids celebrating. This is what we sometimes call almost the happily ever after card. But it represents emotional unity, calm, peace, sort of this pinnacle of happy life around you. So if you're feeling that there's some stuff and some struggle and some friction in the home life, you can pull this card out of the deck and you can put it in a really intentional space. Maybe you can put it in the heart of your home, like on the mantle of a fireplace or above a doorway or somewhere that you're going to see it every day. And what you're doing, just like with any word of affirmation, is you're going to look at this and in sort of this law of attraction, what we have inside of us, if we find a way to represent it outside of us, that's how we're sending the ripples out to say, this is what we want. This is what we want to make happen. So by creating an exterior representation, just like a vision board of what we want, we can start feeding this energetically and sending these messages out to say, okay, this is what I'm focusing on. This is what I want to bring in.
And I love that you were saying putting it in a place where you're seeing it regularly, because obviously if you pull the card and then you tuck it away in the drawer, yes, you have that initial spark of manifesting the first time you pulled it and you set that intention, but there's also that power in repetition and reminding yourself of what you want and going back to that emotion and that energy behind it. Sorry, there was a brief break in the video because my dog was making a lot of noise. So now he's joining us. Hi, Benny. Welcome.
Hi, Benny.
Welcome to the show.
One of the things I love, too, about what you said of creating that reminder is, as we talked about in the workshop, our unconscious mind, that place that we want to tap into to manifest, it works in signs and symbols. Our egos work in words. So when we need to fix some of our ego stuff, we can read words of affirmation of like, I am beautiful, I am awesome, things are going to work out. And that really does help with that surface level of reprogramming our brains. One of the things I love about images is that you're pulling from this place that's below that top level mind. And when we work in these symbols, in these pictures, which is why vision boards are so powerful, the images are actually tapping into a different place of abundance. So we're reaching a different area, which is why I love using pictures.
That's really interesting because from my standpoint, I was like, oh, well, gosh, I guess a picture can tell a much larger story, but I love this whole extra element to it. It's very cool.
So there's some fantastic cards that you can use for sort of everyday things. The Empress card, for example, is the mother in the tarot deck. So if you feel like you're struggling with issues of motherhood or you're beating yourself up about certain things around motherhood, The Empress is the typical image of that abundant, loving, nurturing woman.
Would that be a good card for people who might be struggling with infertility and they're trying to manifest a child into their life?
Absolutely. This is a perfect card for that. And when it comes up in readings, a lot of times it's like, okay, you're either thinking about giving birth to a beautiful, amazing project, or this has to do with the very tangible aspect of motherhood. The Magician card is a card about creating magic. If you want to bring something into your life and you don't always know what the details of that are. You don't know A, B, C, D, E. But I need to get that energy to just start getting the ball rolling. Harnessing the energy of the magician, what he does is he brings spirit into matter. He is the ultimate manifester. So we can, and all of us have an inner magician. It doesn't have to be a woman that looks like us or pick the lady with the brown hair or the blonde hair. It's what does the energy of that card represent? Ace of Wands has to do with creativity. So if you or your child, if you have the science fair coming up and you know that we need to figure out what this is, or we need to have this diorama done by
Halloween
the end of the
costume
week, Halloween
creation.
costume, put up the Ace of Wands card. It has to do with fire and creativity and passion and bringing things about. One thing to keep in mind is that when you do use tarot cards, like you said, pictures tell a much larger story. It can have impacts in your life other than what you think about. So if you put up the Ace of Wands that represents fire and passion and energy because you want to get a Halloween costume idea, you might notice that you might want to start exercising more too because you're having more fire in your life, more passion. You might notice that your intimate relationships are becoming stronger too. So it has ripple effects in other areas than just kind of what we think that we want to bring in.
That's amazing. How do you feel, we were talking about having cards in places that people regularly see it, but how do you feel about it being like this epicenter of family activity, since we are talking about also bringing tarot into your family and into your children's lives? Would a dinner table be okay place to have a tarot card? Would that be a good place for an altar, or is it better for it to be a quieter place?
I think that's a great idea because wherever we're raising energy, from my background, that's how we manifest things. Is first we have to raise the energy,
right?
And that energy is what's used to get the ball rolling. So if you're having an epicenter and that's where you come together every night, if you have a coffee table or something where that's where all the magic happens, put it there and use that energy to kind of create what you want, because that's where the ripples start out. Okay, it's like throwing a tiny pebble in, you get some ripples. If you throw a big rock in, you're going to get bigger ripples.
All right. Now, I know that you said that you can trust your intuition when you're pulling cards, and you don't necessarily need to know what the cards mean, but you did pull some cards that are really positive.
Yes.
Would you recommend that if somebody's really struggling with kind of trusting that their intuition is going to guide them and they'd like somebody to just kind of tell them, for starters, as they're beginning, what cards to use, would you say that these are great cards to get started with?
These are fantastic cards. And I think anytime, especially if you're using a traditional deck, look at the colors. If it's bright blue, bright yellow, if the colors make you feel good, follow that. And then always, let's Google it. We always Google things.
I'm the Google queen.
So follow your intuition, pick cards that feel good, and then back it up and say, okay, I have 3 maybe I'm thinking about, and then just corroborate it with whatever works for you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your insight on this. It's so cool to get an extra tool for manifestation with the law of attraction. Rachel was a guest on the Abundant Parent Community Workshops. It's a membership that I host each month where I bring in experts in their field to talk about mindful parenting, conscious parenting tools to help support you and your kids, your family on this journey that is life. You can catch the workshops on theabundantparent.com. You just click on the tab that says membership. You can also find Rachel on QuinlanTarot.com. She'll also be all over my information for the next month as we dabble more in tarot. We host the workshop. We'll also be posting tarot spreads each week for the next 4 weeks that you can follow along and kind of learn how to bring more tarot into your life. Rachel, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.